That was a surprise for us.
I did not know there was anyone here. I thought it was just the three of us.
This is a bad dream, the curtain rises.
Look at this. Hi, phones. How are you?
Hi, everyone. All right, let me hear the AT&T folks. How about Verizon?
Go.
Wow, big Verizon crowd.
You're not even going to bring up T-Mobile?
Not anymore.
All right.
AT&T, the odd man out in the telecom game. Thank you guys that's the show for this evening.
I refuse to introduce them, and I'm going to start right in on the questions. These will be incisive, direct questions for you. Nick, I'll start with you. What is John Mulaney really like? All right.
I want a chance to respond.
All right, that's the only thing I've prepared for tonight. So let's start with this. How lucky were we to see this as an audience together?
Very.
I guess the question is on drugs or off?
Well, please. all of the AT&T people are on drugs. Okay. Why Hulu? Why not a movie?
What do they make movies anymore?
Yeah, truthfully, this is Mel came to us to do the show, and I call him Mel.
Sorry, Mel Gibson.
Yeah, our dear friend Mel. We went to Malibu. We did jacuzzi. So we were set up with like a searchlight, and it's where the property was originally. And we go. The meeting we had with Hulu was the first place we went, and that's sort of where everybody wanted to go. And Mel, at the end of the meeting, Mel is wearing a sharp blazer, a beautiful white top, a little red handkerchief. I mean, 96 and still pitching. Coming ready to go. And at the end of the pitch, he goes, and just so you know, everyone in town wants this show, so buy it now or lose your chance. And that was it. And it was really quite impressive.
He told us the reason he really wants to do the show is because he needs health care. And so that's why he signed up.
So this was all Mel's idea. You didn't say, "Hey, shouldn't we?" Blah blah blah.
No, they came to us to make the show.
Okay, now they came to you, or did they come to two of you together, or to the three?
A judge sentenced me to them.
Judge Joe Brown, I guess is.
Do we got any brown heads in the house?
Okay.
No, I got a phone call from Nick, and he was like, it was the funniest phone call. He's like, hey, man, do you want to do History of the World Part 2 with me and Mel Brooks and Wanda? And I was like, no. I don't. No, it was the world's fastest yes, and I brought my partner Dave Stassen on, and weeks later, thank you. Is Dave here?
Big Stassen. New York's a big Stassen. New York's a big Stassen town. There you go.
They're Stassen heads.
Yeah.
But then a few days later, we were kind of pitching what we thought the show could be to Mel, and he was like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Something I want to know. What's on the cutting room floor? What's in the writer's room that just couldn't make it?
That burp? Was that a burp? Did anybody else hear that?
Burp. What's on the cutting room floor?
Was there? Let me put it this way. Was there anything that was out of bounds?
We had a January 6th sketch. It was just footage I took from that day.
Yeah,
and
Ike tried to sell it as a sketch. It was like, Ike, this is just.
Ike has a great sketch where I take a dump in Nancy Pelosi's chair. It's not funny. But nothing really was.
We really used all the buffalo.
Speaking of buffalo, we have snacks, guys.
Yeah,
they
we
gave
have
us snacks
out
Here's
here.
the sandwich.
Richard, I don't know if you want to eat these. Are the tiny Tates.
What do you think?
We also
what
got.
do you think
We got a.
What do you want, Richard? What do you want?
We got a corned beef
What kind of
sandwich.
I don't want a
You don't want a corned beef?
It's a corned beef sandwich from a great, and we bought it just in case you wanted.
Can I be honest? I worked today on my show. I had craft service. I had lunch. I took craft service home.
Okay.
I don't need it.
Got it.
What do you take home? This is really honestly what I have done. We did this show so that we could come to the 92nd Street Y, so I could find out what Richard Kind took home from craft
Yeah,
service.
what's your go-to?
The worst is they make the best egg salad in the world, and when they serve lunch, they throw it away. I go, what are you doing throwing it away? I take a huge baggie once a week. I got egg salad. Come on over.
I just love.
Okay.
I love the thought of like Chris Maloney at 4 p.m. Like, where's the egg salad?
Oh, they do. The lighting crew. I got little notes. Egg salad king is on my desk.
And wait, so can I ask, is it a baggie? Is it like a Ziploc or is it?
Ziploc.
It's not a.
What am I, an animal?
Is that like a brown paper bag?
No. Okay. Okay. Let me ask this. Describe the writer's room. Is it, I saw all those writers, is it all 12 or 15? Or are there 3 of you and you split up? Or do you just go around the pool? What was
we were
it?
mostly poolside. We were actually on Zoom for quite a while because of something called COVID. And so we were on Zoom, which was not, it was fun, but it's not.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. What year was this pitch?
1998.
This was the first COVID. Lewinsky
Bird
and
flu.
Bill were still figuring. They were
Yes.
still figuring stuff out.
Yes.
So I talked to Mel at in like July of 2020 is the first conversations, and then we evolve, and then like we opened the writers' room in March 2022. Is it all this year?
No. 2021. No,
it's
2020.
Maybe it's 21.
Jesus,
what a
guys.
nightmare the last 3 years have been. Like, don't you even remember before the pandemic things felt crackly? Do you know what I mean? Like everything felt a little bit off, and then, so then we made History of the World Part 2. Like I think that was the goal. Was like let's go make. The goal was to like take what Mel had put out there in History of the World and all of his films, which is like, you know, he's provocative and there's social satire to it, but ultimately it's silly and it's fun and it's like, and it's not, it doesn't take itself too seriously. And that was really our goal in building this show. That was sort of the mantra.
And the room, we just wanted to get like just a big, like broad group of weirdos. So you have like Anna Fabrigov, who like co-created Los Spookies, who's just this super weirdo, show. So funny. And then like Guy Branum, who was like just a mind for absorbing history, and Lance Crowther and Emmy Blotnick.
Lance Crowther, who was Pootie Tang. I don't know if you ever saw Pootie Tang.
We had Pootie Tang in the room.
Ask me if I knew the name, I would not have. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know the name Pootie Tang?
I know the movie and the name.
Okay, great.
All right, okay.
Don't get
What am I,
defensive,
some white
Richard.
Jew?
Yeah. Are
do you
you?
mind?
Wait, you're.
Can
No,
you real
I'm
quick?
not
Can you
white.
can you bring up that I won Celebrity Jeopardy?
Ike is asking Richard to bring up that Ike won Celebrity Jeopardy.
Oh, I know. Yes. Oh, and by a large margin.
Just ask me how it was.
How was?
I don't
Now,
wanna
by
talk
the way,
about
you
it. I
may
don't wanna
not
talk
know
about it.
this. You may,
I want to talk about history of the world. That's the reason we're
you
here.
may not know, but you were on Celebrity Jeopardy. How'd you do?
Honestly, tonight's not about that. Tonight is about Mel Brooks and me and Nick and you and the work we did together. I appreciate you bringing it up, but I'm not talking about it. This is about the show that Nick and I worked on. Mm-hmm. That's it.
What was the
All right,
final,
moving
what
on.
was the final question?
The final question was, the answer was Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, okay.
It was what this artist, I don't remember exactly, but it was something like this. The category was artist. This artist was, despite his name, born 45 miles south of Florence in a town called Del Vecchio. Mm-hmm. And I guessed.
That was Da Vinci's.
It was Da
That was
Vinci's
Da Vinci?
hometown, yeah. That was the Da Vinci Code.
We gotta go, folks.
Thank you all for coming.
Okay, let me
Have you
continue.
ever been on a game show?
You want my Celebrity Jeopardy story?
Yes.
Well, you were on Celebrity Jeopardy?
Years ago. Let's talk about me. I am double minus 400 of the next person, who was Michael McKeon. Uh-huh. If you had to ask what category I wake up screaming in a sweat. This was the category.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Geography.
Oh, no.
Okay, sorry.
Sports. It was something to the effect, I can't remember, Jan blah, 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 known as Das Terminator, was the only Swede to ever win this event.
Speed skating?
No. I thought triathlon, anything like that. Turns out it was the Tour de France. I didn't know that. I would never have guessed that. A monkey typing at a typewriter for 100 years couldn't have gotten that. Michael McKeon, who is one of the smartest people in the world, got it. When I was finished, I go, how in the world did you get it? He goes, well, my wife and I, we love bicycling.
Oh. Sounds like a setup to me.
I think so.
I mean,
I think it's Disney and ABC, and McKeon is better. He's the Ray Fiennes of our Celebrity Jeopardy. I was John Turturro,
right.
and fuck Michael McKeon.
Yeah.
God,
Wow.
right.
You heard it here, folks.
You know what? Enough about me. Okay, let's get back.
Okay. Quiz Show is the movie he's talking about. Quiz Show. Okay.
This is the 92nd Street Y. You got to give them that
They were
reference.
there.
Yeah. Okay, I want to ask you about, and this is spoilers for those of you who haven't seen some of the other episodes. Alexander Graham Bell.
Yes.
So funny.
So funny, created, of course, in the writer's room.
Yes.
When you start fucking the phone.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That is
This
a true spoiler alert.
Yeah. And also historically accurate. Please continue.
Good.
Was that written in the writer's room, or did you just start evolving and just said, no, let's get going. Was it?
It was not written. I know.
Fucking the phone, I think, was improvised.
Yeah.
It was improvised.
You know, Laurence Olivier said that exact same thing on this very stage in 1957 after Richard III came out.
Now, we really did discuss whether or not, because I've seen some of it, only about 2.5 parts, the first 2, and now 1.5 of this.
I love a fully transparent moderator.
But the reason why I want to ask is a lot of these things, writer's room, just how much did you have fun on the set? And how much escalated? What was it like to say no? Like did you do a take and go no? Let's do that again because of this. And can you remember anything? Because that I just don't believe that was written in the writers' room. Fuck the phone.
Yeah, no. Fucking the phone was improvised by Ike. And
yeah.
I just, not to take anything away,
No.
but Ike fucks a phone in every scene he's in. It's kind of his go-to. And if you're watching Celebrity Jeopardy closely,
The episode with Simu Liu, I fuck my cell phone underneath the podium.
Yeah, and
just watch for it. It's a little Easter egg.
but I mean, Richard, you're in a number of the sketches. You were there for Curb Your Judaism. You were there for the Beatles, Jewish stuff.
I know the answer to these. I'm doing this for them. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, first of all, again, I love a transparent moderator, and so, but I think we leave room in every sketch for stuff to be improvised. You want to leave space for it, but also you don't want to make oftentimes I think we've all been called in to be like, and we have nothing, so can you just make it funny today? And you're like, no, have jokes. Right. For people, and then see if you can find new moments, which I think we tried to do.
We also had we had 300 actors cast on this show.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and you were our favorite. Just I want to throw that out there right now.
Well, I mean, if you look at It's a Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yes.
This is the equivalent of today's Mad, Mad.
And you, my friend, were the Jonathan Winters of our Mad World. There you go.
All right. Let's go to the audience for just a couple of seconds. Anybody scream out one, and I'll repeat it if I hear it. Anybody have a question? Anybody have a question?
We're jumping
No,
ahead.
don't turn
on
the lights
everybody.
on.
Go ahead.
That means there's too much control. Anybody have a question?
Was Mel ever in the writer's room? Yeah, I mean, we were on Zoom, and he was definitely on Zoom.
Yeah, and he would sleep at our houses.
Yes.
And come through, and he would come into the writers' room. We'd pitch him stuff. We did a read through of a bunch of the first group of sketches and a bunch of the songs that are in the episode. And his take afterwards was like, I liked the songs and I liked some of the reads. And
Fun fact, he called me later on and said, you were one of the reads I liked.
Yeah,
I was like,
that
that's
is
so
true.
fucking nice you called. Thank you, man. I didn't have to do that.
yeah, I guess he lost my number, but it's fine. It's but he one of the things he said to us was like, you're gonna get letters, and that's good, which is awesome that he still has faith in the postal system, but. But what he really was saying was like, you're gonna ruffle some feathers, and that felt, and he, you know, I mean, one early thing he said to Ike and all of us was like, don't be afraid to tell dirty jokes, and his jokes are sprinkled throughout. There was a joke that when we first started talking about it, that he was like I've been wanting to do this joke for 50 years, like I couldn't get it in History of the World, and then it was gonna be in this coda in Spaceballs. He was like, we're at the signing of Appomattox. Everybody's signing Appomattox. And Robert E. Lee signs the treaty and then gets up and turns, and his sword knocks into 3 of his soldiers' balls. And he was like, he has a vault of 50 years of bits that he's wanted to get in. And when you watch the signing of Appomattox with Ike and Jack McBrayer, of course, the perfect Robert E. Lee. Jason Alexander as Maurice Cheeks, the notary public. Jason Alexander, like you, your ability, you and Jason's ability to sort of understand the rhythms of Mel Brooks. It just changes the constitution of the scene immediately. And having Jason in there it was really perfect watching that scene.
Yeah, he's flawless.
He's flawless.
He plays the part that Mel would play
Yes.
in the movie.
Which brings up a point. Did you ask him, would you like to be in this?
I feel like this is a bad time for Jason Alexander to know that Mel passed on the part.
Yeah. Always a bummer when you find that out.
Yeah.
We talked early on about what was your appetite, because he was very enthusiastic. I want to be a part of it. I want to do everything, and we knew we wanted him to be our narrator and be like our voice of God, and we wanted to figure out a way to kind of present him in like a different kind of way, and we thought like, oh, what's something that's very troubling and will probably undo the fabric of our society? A deep fake. And so we worked with this company, Deep Voodoo, and we kind of created this deep fake with Mel's face on Brock O'Hearn's body. Brock O'Hearn, the originator of the man bun.
The guy who plays Jesus in JC Resurrection.
The big muscle guy. He popularized the man bun.
Yeah.
This is a true thing.
And then we used him for the deep fake body up top and at the end in Jews in Space. And the first cut of the deep fake came back, and it was like Mel looked like a lot like Mel Gibson.
He really did look like Mel Gibson, which was a bummer.
Sort of a bummer.
Yeah.
So.
But we feel like he's watching you watch the show a little bit. He's kind of your Virgil, kind of guiding you through this stuff. And watching Nick direct Mel while Mel was doing all of his line readings is very fun, because I don't think Mel's ever been directed. He's one of those guys that has just always been his own director. We have breaking news, folks. What's happening? What happened?
Thank you for these sketch ideas. I appreciate that.
Mel Gibson's here, and he has a couple questions.
He thinks the show's a little too Jewish.
Yeah. In fact, he doesn't know that the show actually ever happened. So, and his dad, it's really his
They
dad.
deny it. They deny the show ever happened. It's ridiculous.
So, but so Mel was present, but he's incredible, and he's in one of the amazing things was having people on the show, like Johnny Knoxville or Jack Black, who are lifelong friends, and I had an amazing moment with Jack Black, who plays Joseph Stalin, and we had this idea. It was like Jack Black, like Joseph Stalin is singing this sort of Les Mis song about one day how he'll crush all of his enemies, and it was this really beautiful, emotional song, and Jack agreed to do it very kindly. And on the drive back to the trailers, I FaceTimed with Mel so that Jack could talk to him. And watching Jack talk to Mel and tell him a story about how Anne Bancroft visited Jack backstage at a play they were doing in high school, and they were like very nervous. And Anne had just come off Broadway. and like told them that they were going to be great and live theater was this amazing thing. And Jack got to tell that story to Mel. And Mel was taking it. It's just like there are moments like that inside of the show where you're bridging, like Mel Brooks, who's a hero to all of us, to Jack Black, who is someone that like I know a little bit. Like we don't know that. I mean, but like is a true comedy hero in his own right. And watching this sort of beautiful moment of sharing it was. There are just like moments throughout the show that were incredibly gratifying.
And he's 96 and he's still funnier than us. We had a premiere in LA last week.
Not a big deal.
And he showed up. And they had a little video from him, and the screen comes up, and Nick introduced him, and the crowd goes crazy, and he gets up there, and he's looking at he goes, "I just want you to know, I drove here tonight, and it was a long drive, and I was listening to the radio the whole time, and I just want you all to know that we're going to have continued scattered showers for the next 2 days, and there's a low pressure system moving in from Canada."
But it should clear up by Wednesday. And it was funny. We were not sure until the moment whether he was going to come to the premiere or not. It was like, Dave, I was like, Mel's not sure if he can make it. And they just left a car out front. And then it just goes to prove if you leave a car out front, like talent will just get in.
Eventually they'll get in. Eventually they will get in.
Just get in. By the way, Richard, I have a question for you regarding transportation. I have a family member who saw you in a tuxedo getting on a bus at like 11 p.m. on the Upper West Side. Is that...
And your question is? Can I tell you why?
Please.
There were no city bikes available. All right, we have a question from I don't know who. What is a historical event from this era that you want to see in part 3?
January 6th. From this era, meaning like our lifetime?
Ask me. Who the fuck
Huh. It's so weird. The last 20 years are a genuine blur.
All right, how did COVID affect the set?
Oh, we'd do COVID. That'd be
COVID. COVID we would do.
So fun.
The 2000 election, maybe that could be like
That'll be a blast.
That'd be a fun thing to revisit. Everything's been so fun the last 30 years.
Yeah.
Let's do a funny sketch about it. How did COVID affect the set, was your question?
Because I was there when it did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I got COVID. And
Yep. And I was there and got to go home and come back again.
Yeah, I gave him a big kiss on the lips.
I'm going to tell a quick story. So we shoot. Nick gets COVID. Richard comes to set the next day. He's like, "Where's Nick?" And
Yes.
and Dave Stassen, who's our writer-producer partner, walks up to Richard. He's got a mask on. He's a really pretty good-looking guy. He's got a mask on, and he goes, "Hey, Richard, I'm Dave. I'm one of the writer-producers. Nick actually has COVID." And Richard goes, "Oh, my God. Is he going to be okay?" And Dave's like, "Yes." And Richard goes, "Please pull your mask down." And Dave like lowers his mask, and Richard goes, "Oh, not what I expected."
So that's how we dealt with it.
Okay. All right, let me ask, how'd you decide which ones to include?
Well, we kind of right away started picking the bigger. We wanted each episode to feel like you were watching a mini version of the movie. So we knew we were going to have like 3 or 4 bigger sketches. Your Jesuses. Nick wanted to do Russian Revolution. He's very pro Vladimir Putin. You could put that in the newspaper.
I think a strong leader is.
I wanted to do Civil War. I wanted to do U.S. Grant.
Well, you're a big history buff.
I'm a big history buff, and
yes.
Civil War especially.
And Ike's too humble to say this, but he would say on set all the time that the South got a raw deal. And so he won't take credit for it, but I want you guys to know.
There's 2 things to take away. He loves Putin, and I wanted the South to win. Wanda wanted to play Shirley, so we knew we had these kind of bigger pieces that we were going to work with. But then a lot of it was just kind of like, what's your idea?
Whatever. And we tried to honor the structure of the movie, which is a bunch of shorter sketches, some musical numbers, and these big chunks around the Roman Empire and the French Revolution. So we wanted to sort of tell these bigger stories and also have shorter pops throughout. And so and then it really was survival of the fittest in the writers' room. It was like,
Did Mel want to write a song?
he did. He pitched us the song that he's been pitching for literally over 50 years. He did it in a 1983 HBO special called Retreat. It's a very funny song. But in his book, you can literally, he's like, I wrote this song. Like, he's pitching Retreat in the mid 70s. And literally 50 years later, he's like, and how's Retreat going? And
It's a Napoleon song, I believe.
It's a great song. It's very funny, but it's like, how do you, like, we had a certain amount of days to shoot a ton of material, and it was like, how do we do a massive Busby Berkeley number about the French Revolution? And we just, frankly, we put it off, and then it went away. But full disclosure, 92nd Street Y.
But we are happy to announce that 42 years from now, we are going to do part 3. And
Retreat will be in there.
It will be in there, and a couple of, we'll see what else transpires.
So, Richard, you know that Mel loves you.
I love him.
Did you recently get a phone call from Mel?
It was crazy. It's crazy, but
He was the wrong number. He was trying to call.
I don't want to go into. Well, you don't have to. We don't have to talk. I got questions about this.
Fine, but I'll tell you, it was Mel, Norman Lear, and Dick Van Dyke.
And Dick Van Dyke called me in the middle
Richard Kind.
In the middle of the afternoon.
I was told from Mel. Mel was like, we called him, and it was like, hi, it's Mel. And Richard's like, no, it's not. And then he was like, and I've got Norman Lear and Dick Van Dyke, and Richard refused to believe the reality of it.
I couldn't believe it. So we went on FaceTime so I could live it, and I did.
Richard has been fished. He has been catfished. He's been catfished by Carl
My comedy
Reiner.
legends.
Yeah,
You got a call from Bob Hope last week.
Bob Hope got Richard good.
I'm waiting for Georgie Jessel.
It's
all right.
Hey, is this Richard? It's me, Georgie.
All right, this is a question. I'll ask it because it's on the card. And the lady gave it to me.
Like a good actor. Just read what's on the fucking
Kroll
card, Richard.
Is that shirt from a woman's pajama set?
This one?
I'm sorry. Is fucking Steve Harvey in the crowd?
First off, are you looking for a job in a writer's room?
Yeah, you're hired.
Second off, you're not getting one after that comment. It's so funny. I have a jacket to wear over this, but it's like a massive floral pattern. And I was like, I think I'd rather look like a chic lady than like a Roz Chast cartoon.
Explain the situation where you said, that's the jacket I want.
I'm a mannequin. I'm a muse for the, right? I think I saw Roz Chast off Union Square like a couple weeks ago. I was, where Union Square, like right off of the farmer's market, if you go past the Junkies to towards Bonobos, quick shout out. And a woman walked up who just looked like a Roz Chast cartoon, and I just assumed it was Roz Chast. Is that possible?
Possible in this town.
I love it. It's New York, anything can happen.
Here's something that I truly want to know, and it was written down for me. Has Larry David seen this? What was his reaction before?
Don't let the lawyers talk this
So
one
we have
out.
to let we did a Curb Your Judaism, and I did 20 years ago, I asked Mel to, I saw him at an event, Jewish Humor Awards, not a big deal. And I saw him walking out. I go, Mel, Mr. Brooks, I'm so sorry to bother you. I have an idea for a remake of The Producers. And he goes, do your own work, and then walked out of the room. And 20 years later, look who came fucking crawling back. So No, but truthfully, I took the note to heart, and I was just starting out in New York. I started doing background work. I did a couple commercials. Give it a background. We got some background artists here. In fact, the whole balcony, it's fillers. So one of the first background work I got was the season of Curb Your Enthusiasm when Larry was doing the producers, and he was in town to play Max Bialystock, and it was at the St. James Theater, and they needed a crowd. And so I was doing background work in the crowd when they were doing the producers on Broadway.
I was there.
Yes. You're in it. You were in the crowd.
Was I nice?
No, I didn't talk to you. You were screaming at Larry from the crowd.
Right.
And I was like, with the background people being like, they were like, the bagels aren't good. Like, that was the big point of conversation was, and I just remembered you get up in the middle of the show and scream at Larry.
Yes, because
you were.
But you know what I'm taking from this? How amazingly talented you are in that short period of time to give us the work you have, to be in the business, how high in the business.
Thank you.
It's crazy because I remember it like yesterday, and that is your journey.
Literally, I watched it, and I was like, I don't like these bagels, and I'm going to leave.
Can I shock you right now? I was background on Mad About You. I'm joking. I'm sorry. I had to. I wanted to see Richard's head explode.
Well, it took you long enough to get to this point in your career.
No, it was the new back.
It was the new one. It was 2 years ago, and you were an asshole to me.
It was the one on Fubu or wherever it was. So
on Fubu.
But I went and did that, and then years later, we obviously did this Curb Your Judaism thing, and we thought the nicest thing we could do to Larry David was to not have to ask him and have him say no. Like, I felt like that was the most polite thing to do, because I just felt like he would be like, I don't, so we didn't ask him, but we really felt like we couldn't do it without you and JB Smoove.
Yeah, but... I got nothing to do with it, and I guess JB will take work like I take work.
Well, but
as long as there's egg salad.
As long as there's a bag of egg salad to take home, I'll be there.
And
okay.
honestly, one of the real reasons we did Curb, because we were excited about it, but that music, bump, 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 that we all love, it's library music.
Public domain, baby.
It's
free.
It's like when you buy an editing suite for like $1,000, you get every song. That's like most shows are all that. The Curb Your Enthusiasm song is library music. So we were like, well, we should take advantage of that.
We kept saying the sketch is bad, it doesn't work, but the music is free. So we have to do it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to come to the audience to give it a little excitement. Anybody want to yell out a question?
Who's somebody that you couldn't get that you really wish you had? Oh, that's a great answer. I'm very good friends with Kevin Spacey. And he must have changed his number. It's funny. When we first told people we were doing this, so many people were jumping at the chance to do it just because it's Mel. Justin Theroux was someone who was very, very hoping to do it, but he had to go do his show, so we'll get him.
Barack Obama.
Ever heard of him?
And by the end of production, literally every day someone was getting COVID.
Yes.
And we can't say who those people were, because then everybody in the show will be so mad. But yeah, we really got so many of the people that we wanted to get. My favorite piece of casting is in one of the Shirley episodes. Shirley, it's a true story that Shirley Chisholm, when George Wallace, the racist governor from Alabama, got shot, Shirley Chisholm visited him in the hospital. And it was like this really beautiful moment that wrangled her constituents and his constituents. And we were like, well, that would be a fun scene to see. Who should we have play racist white Alabama governor George Wallace? It should be black comedian George Wallace. And who's one of my favorite comedians and the funniest man on Twitter. If you are on Twitter, and these days it's the best. It's one of the great. It's being
Can we
run.
just give a quick shout out here? Clap your hands for Elon Musk. What a great guy.
Yeah. So, but he's so funny, and so we got George Wallace to play.
He's in it because I haven't seen that
George
episode.
Wallace. It's one of the episodes you didn't watch, Richard.
Okay, well that's it. But spoiler alert.
Also, speaking of people who were not in the show, early on, Mel sent us a list of like people he wanted. And then he, at the end of it, he goes, also musicians. And the 3 names, he was like, I would love for you to get Paul McCartney, Bruce Springsteen, or Mick Jagger. We're like, okay, sounds good.
That's great. Okay, we got another question?
Which historical figures would play?
Woo! What a question.
Is Josh Molina considered a historical figure?
I was going to say Alfred Molina for me, so I think we're pretty... Yeah. The Molinas take care of it.
Who would we cast to play... That's a great question.
I would cast not Mark, not Donnie Wahlberg, but the other brother who owns the hamburgers stand. Hamburger Wahlberg.
Who have you played? What historical figures have you played over your career?
Ooh.
I don't know. Oh, I played God.
Pretty important guy.
I played Moses. And then I did a show called Travesties where it's based on a real guy, and I played him, but you wouldn't know that guy. And then I don't know if I played anybody else. But
Giuliani.
I have.
You played
Giuliani.
Rudy Giuliani?
Yeah, for the last 3 years.
That was you shitting your pants in court? Wait, when did you play?
A movie called Bombshell.
The Fox News movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that makeup won an Academy Award. As well.
Wow.
It's so crazy that the makeup won and not...
Yeah. Or at least the makeup artist.
I was honestly a lousy Giuliani. But
so
the
was
makeup...
Giuliani.
Wow. All right. Any other questions? We got any other questions? Go ahead. Any other questions?
Hulu say no to any sketches.
Okay, hold on. And what's that?
I'll go first. Did Hulu say no to any sketches? No, they really were very cool about the whole thing. Well, I will tell you this, because whatever, it's out now. But the show began, right? Doesn't matter. The show began with all of Mein Kampf just read dramatically by Richard. No, but the show did begin. Originally, it was Mel. This whole thing in the deep fake. I want to look exactly like I looked in 1981, and no repeat. So without further ado, here's History of the World Part 2, and then we went straight into Hitler on Ice, and they tested it. And they were like, the dials drop immediately.
People take the machine and throw it out the window when they see Hitler.
So frankly, they were like, it's the first 2 minutes of the show. We think you just might not want to start where everybody sees Hitler and drops off. And so we had to move that later in the episode and rearrange things. But other than that, they were incredibly cool about everything. They really let us do.
Why would they ever have audience testing? It's been made. Let's do it, and the audience will tell you whether it's any good.
Hulu, what do you have to say for yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing we did do, which I think was clever of us, is we would pitch stuff to Mel first.
Oh.
So then we would pitch it to Hulu, and if they were like, we're like, yeah, well, Mel likes it a lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you want to tell Mel no?
What did Mel adore?
He loved Russia. He loved the Russia stuff very much. I think he liked he loved the music. We had an amazing musician, a guy named Mark Rivers, who
did all the music. He did the music on Kroll Show. He did all the music. He does all the music on Big Mouth and has done a lot of stuff forever. And really
amazing.
Does a great job with it.
Well, Mel loved the music, I think.
He loved Richard.
He loved Richard. He called him. He called you with Dick Van Dyke, which is amazing.
When you're dealing with a great man who's 96 years old, who's been a very funny, you don't necessarily get a lot of like, you know what I love? But he was incredibly supportive at every stage of like, really pushing us and really getting behind anything that Hulu was like, oh, we don't know about this. He really was incredibly.
Yeah, and it is astounding how sharp he is. Has not lost a thing. It's just astounding.
It's really wild.
Yeah.
Another question?
Another question.
Go ahead. Hold on. Up down here, yeah.
We're going to get you.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Rudy DeLuca.
We're not going to answer that.
God bless you.
I would.
Go ahead, back there.
But quickly, though, before we move on, if someone else in the crowd knows what's happening with Rudy DeLuca,
Let us know.
we're open to that. What he's just doing
No,
is
he's
he's just
brilliant. Of course he's
opening. He's just opening the conversation up to Rudy. So, he played Rudy Giuliani. I am playing Rudy DeLuca in this guy's story.
We had something back there, I believe.
Yell it out. Yell it out.
Did you write any specific sketch for a specific performer? Did you kind of pass after you wrote everything?
Well, we knew like once we were like, oh, Rasputin, Nick is like Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah, Rasputin famously, people tried to kill him over and over for many years. Johnny Knoxville's been doing that basically to himself. And when I called Johnny about doing it, because Johnny called us and was like, if there's anything I can do on the show, Mel is my hero. I'm here for any of it. So when we started writing the Russian Revolution, we were like, great, he'll be Rasputin. I call him, he's like, oh, that's great. That sounds perfect. I was in St. Petersburg at a sex shop / urologist, and I saw Rasputin's dick in a jar. And then he sent me a picture of this dick with this incredibly long pubic hair. It's like so upsetting. And we were like, well, this is kismet. This is Besheret. And we should do this. So we would write with people in mind, and then it was a question of like schedule and abilities to do things. And we really got incredibly lucky and then it's a long journey of getting things to line up.
But again, once you say it's Mel, like everyone from like Richard Kind to Dove Cameron is like a fan of Mel's. So you get
Truly.
very, very
Truly.
And Mel is a fan of Mel's.
This is separate from anything. I just quickly want to talk about someone who we wanted to work with who was ultimately unavailable, was Kanye. And
But he is here tonight. He's up in the balcony. Say hello.
a couple songs. But I did see Kanye at a venue in Largo about 10 years ago. I was performing, and he was there not to see me. And met him backstage afterwards, and I got a laugh. And I'm a huge Kanye fan, and I still am. Not the music, but the and he. I go, I have to tell you, man, I am a huge fan of your music. And he looked at me and said, so am I. And so how does he know when he's going to lose the thread?
All right.
I mean?
Which bits did you decide to sort of be the tent poles? You have four tent poles.
Did you just say which bitch? Did you?
I made a mistake.
Thank you, Richard.
I like a humble moderator. I love a moderator who's also much more famous than the people he's talking to.
Yeah. A humble, transparent,
Famous moderator.
Just told it.
let's talk about. I was like out of context. That doesn't work.
Which sketches?
Well, I knew I wanted to do a Civil War thing, and that would kind of give us a little bit of Blazing Saddles vibes. And Nick really wanted to do Russia, and Shirley wanted to do Wanda wanted to do Shirley rather. But then the other ones, we were like, well, we got to do the Bible, and we got to do something with.
And Jesus just felt like Jesus and Mary felt rich, and we felt like it would lend itself to doing some different the discovery of like, each gospel will be a different genre of thing.
Did he say, look, I've already done it, the Last Supper in the history of the world?
No, I think he liked that it's not the Last Supper. It's sort of like they've come home from the Last Supper.
It picks up where it left off almost.
And I just knew with mine, I was like, and I build my characters from the name up like a real professional. So I was like, Schmuck Mudman feels like a classy name. The other name that we had talked about was Putz Fuckstein, and then we realized that was Clark Gable's real name in Gone with the Wind, and he famously said, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," or "My name isn't Putz Fuckstein," and so
it's true.
I tried to do that on Seth Meyers tonight, and I blew it. So I wanted a second chance, and I really feel like I nailed it here.
Thank you.
Live at 92nd Street Y. So we knew we wanted to hit those
and
things.
Kublai Khan too. We cast Ronnie Chang, who's so funny as
Yes.
Kublai Khan, and we knew that we wanted to do at least 3 or 4 sketches out of that.
Okay, some of the people who... Do you remember seeing Mel's movies when you were a kid?
I remember very clearly, and Nick makes fun of me for this. My father rented a VCR. We didn't have a lot of money, guys, and he rented a VCR and he brought home Blazing Saddles.
Just a humble corporate lawyer from suburban Jewish Chicago.
It's like, excuse me, sir, suburban. Fuck that.
Oh, right, you're from the city.
I'm a city Jew.
There you go.
We were like, my dad was like Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems if he were a lawyer.
Now, by the way, an actor.
Now my dad is an actor, by the way. He has joined. He's
a carnival barker in The Notebook of Mary in our show.
And now he has moved to L.A. He has joined SAG, and he is a legitimate actor. Just booked physical with Rose Byrne last week. He's available.
Wow.
But I remember him showing me Blazing Saddles, and I was like, I don't know, 4, and I was like dead from laughter. And so that was definitely my favorite Mel movie. And then a year or two later, I pivoted into History of the World, and that was my main one for a long time.
We had History of the World on VHS, and I watched it a ton. And then
Did you buy that? Did you own the VHS player?
we owned a VHS.
Must be
a
nice.
VCR, and then we owned VHSs, and then we'd lose them and spend $1,000 at the video store. Why were VHSs so expensive? Is this a good? What's that?
Because
They were new.
that's exactly what I was going to say.
How is Rudy doing, by the way? Do we have an update?
So
Anyone?
It's
but
like big TVs.
Yeah,
they're cheap now.
They're cheap now. So I watched that movie, and then we owned Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, and then The Producers. And The Producers became. I watched like every day. I watched The Producers from like 7th grade through like sophomore year of high school. I watched that movie like every day.
And if you watch the series, it's not just History of the World Part 1 that we're doing. It really we try to get all these moments that kind of touch on the Mel Brooks universe.
Sure.
And so
MBU,
the
as we would call
MBU, sorry. So you'll see, like in the Civil War, like there's a Rock Ridge reference. There's a moment in Russia where he has this meltdown that's exactly like Gene Wilder.
Yeah,
in
so
the
we're
Producers.
it's at the sort of the climax of this thing. Me and Pam Adlon plays my wife. She plays Fanny Mudman. She's incredibly funny, and where it's all falling apart. And I've fallen to the ground. And I look up and I'm like, I realize I'm in like, you're gonna jump on me, like I'm in that moment, and we can reframe the camera and do that. Just do that. You're gonna jump on, and the show is littered with that because everyone comes in with their own thing of like, oh, like Jason Alexander's like, I've got a big butt, and he's like, why didn't anybody tell me my butt was this big? From Spaceballs, or there's moments from really all of his movies because we all.
Well, the best one, and I will not spoil this, but your take on war movies is not only a comment on war movies, but on Mel Brooks, and that's when you really reach the heights that you surpass the comedy into honoring, and it's so good, and it escalates so perfectly. It's perfection.
I'll spoil it. It was called D-Day, but internally it was called Band of Barfers.
Yes.
And
our we all have seen like the scenes on the boats before Normandy, and there's always one guy who throws up, and we were like, what if everyone threw up? And so it is one of our more disgusting scenes.
Yeah.
I would say.
It's everything that the label of Mel Brooks should be.
Yes, thank you.
Everything. Let me ask, I'm not going to say what albums, but what comedy bits that you listened to in albums that really made had a real effect on you, and even how you acted? What kind of, like you say that I have a Mel Brooks rhythm. You guys have rhythms.
Andrew Dice Clay, baby.
But I really did. I mean,
I didn't like
listened
Dice.
to
I wasn't a
listened
Dice
to
man. I was
doing my first time performing. I remember being on a tour bus in Israel with my family.
Yeah.
And that they have the mic at the front of the tour bus.
And you did Dice?
I got up there and did Dice for the family.
Oh my God. I like my comedy a little more subtle. Billy Crystal playing like 4 different black men.
But for me, truly, the 2,000-year-old man as a kid, and then on CD, I listened to it in my car, and those rhythms are like massively important to me. I mean, actually, that Adam Sandler.
Oh, they're all gonna laugh at you. Yeah, I love that.
So funny.
Can I honestly tell you? Probably my favorite one is probably the Jerky Boys' first album.
Oh my God.
Oh, the best.
I loved it, and in the show we came up with Alexander Graham Bell. We're like, what if right after the first phone call was made, the first crank call was made?
Yes.
And it's like,
Greatest.
so again, it all comes back to the Jerky Boys. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'll take one more question about Rudy DeLuca.
Yes.
And,
right here, Richard. There's someone in the third row right there.
Somebody in the third row. Yes, go ahead, lady. Hold on, I can't.
What's that?
Scream it.
Did you think about the generational effect of bringing this show to the young generation?
The generational effect of
From a young lady who just sat here for an hour not laughing.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird because Mel is the greatest generation, and we're both Zoomers. You and I are both Zoomers. So, what was the question again?
I mean, I think look, the goal was to bring our own generational trauma to a generational. Yeah, I mean, the goal was all of Mel's movies, all of his work, one of the things that I love about his work is whether it was the producer, really, when you look at Young Frankenstein or, it's a perfect monster movie. When you look at Blazing Saddles, it's a Western, silent movie. History of the World, obviously, is tons of homage to, The Inquisition is a Busby Berkeley number.
2001.
Everything is, 2001, Spaceballs on. It's like he was always doing, I wouldn't even call it parody, he was doing homage. He was just doing homage to whatever the genres that he loved and adored, and he elevated them with his comedy. And I think we were endeavoring to do a similar thing with whatever is happening now, and I love TikTok. So I wanted to pay homage to, I love videos. My favorite videos on TikTok are I don't know how to say this without, it's very small-headed Azerbaijani men eating rice.
Oh, I'm very into pig TikTok. Hog TikTok is very fun.
That's that's where he treats me like a little pig.
But I think to answer your question, again, it comes back to a testament to the work that Mel has done, where you have Marla Gibbs, right, who was I saw Blazing Saddles in the theater, right? And then you have Dove Cameron and Nick Robinson, who are fetuses. And they're I watched these movies with my grandfather. And so I think this work that Mel has done is just lasted throughout the years, which is tough with comedy. Sometimes comedy has an expiration date, but when you do it like Mel has, it just kind of is evergreen. And so I think it's a testament to him that we were able to rope in not just, the Altacockers, but also fellow Zoomers.
And do you think that Blazing Saddles can be shown to an audience under the age of 25 without any introduction that this is bad taste or anything like that? If they were to see it blank,
I think if you came out and introduced it as your film.
We are showing it at my daughter's 7th birthday party this weekend to all of her friends.
Look, comedy doesn't always, not everything sits well years later. Language for sure changes. But I would argue that Mel's work was always made with love and silliness and a lightness, and there's no teeth on the things that he was doing. So while there are jokes that don't work from every comedy ever made now, I think the spirit of what he's doing and he did still resonates and works, and that was what we were hoping to continue to do, But we are working on a remake of Blazing Saddles, but it's Your Cop from East Broadway.
Yeah, from East New York.
East
Do
New York.
you know that story about the guy who was at the producers at the musical, and he was getting up the aisle, and he saw Mel at the back, and he goes, "This is the worst thing I've ever seen. I was in World War II, and I've never been more insulted." And Mel goes, "I was in World War II. I never saw you." All right, we're going to take one more, and then we'll get out of here. Well, I'll take two more. Go ahead, Lee. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, whether it was him.
He wrote this whole panel.
Yeah, this is very tightly scripted. I mean, Mel, like he said, Mel is perfect for like, hey, here's a joke I've been sitting on for 40 years with Robert E. Lee and a nutsacks. So he's like, he has all these kind of sitting in his head. And but in terms of like, putting a paper on a typewriter.
And like he had jokes about the Dust Bowl that like we got to the Dust Bowl here, but his verse pitch of the Dust Bowl is it was just sand,
blackness,
and it's Murray. Hi, yes, hi. I'm over here. I'm over here. And hearing him do that is so fun. He had a joke. I'll just tell you one that didn't make it, and it was about Abraham Lincoln at the Emancipation Proclamation. And then he goes, his assistant reads it and goes, "So we're going to free all the slaves." And Lincoln looks up and goes, "All of them?" So certain jokes are funny and then don't make it in. So we'll have one more question.
One more question. It was over there.
And I hope it's...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, that's my closing question.
I'm so sorry.
It was all going so well.
Oh, well.
Why did you do that? Why did you ask that question? That's...
All right, I'll tell you what.
By the way,
hold on.
Wait, can I just...
Yes.
Can you continue to hold your mic like that? This was...
This is how we talk in LA.
I will say... Oh, no, this is the time. We did I'll just quickly, not to shine too much light on you, Richard, but...
But Dick Cavett did one of these, and he was much better.
Yes, yeah. We did Richard is the voice of Marty Glauberman on Big Mouth, and nobody screams like Richard Kind. And we're doing a live read. This is the beginning of the pandemic, and we did a live read for charity, and it was like a big deal. Everyone was like the first thing on Zoom where everybody was doing together, gathering for one of these things. And Richard comes on eating an ear of corn. Do you remember this?
I don't doubt you, but no, I don't remember it. Really?
Anyway, I just
okay.
wanted to make sure
Here's
I got
what
that.
I want to say. I want to know: do you think of taking this and making a 90-minute movie and putting it in the
We're
theater?
thinking of taking this on the road.
Yeah, but
Cincinnati.
This really was wonderful. I laughed and laughed and laughed and enjoyed myself when I was at home. But I can go to the bathroom, I can go get a thing, and I'm sitting there alone. But sharing this comedy, it was cathartic, and it's great. It raises the level. It is meant to be together.
Oh,
and do you think of doing it?
Yeah, I mean, comedies in the movie theaters are doing great these days, and so...
Which it really does suck, because last week at this amazing theater in L.A., they screened History of the World Part 1. Oh. And the audience was dying. Yeah. And it was just like, comedy really is a collective experience.
Is.
Every bit as much as horror or action movies or these stupid fucking superhero movies. But I'm just kidding. I'm actually doing a Marvel movie.
Oh, you are?
Sorry, Marvelous Miss Maisel. Playing Steve Allen. But I do think like sitting in a theater, laughing as hard as you can is one of the best things in the world. So I'll do whatever you want.
Honestly, like I think for all of us, like Mel being a part of just getting the call to do this, and then being able to write it and act it, produce it, work with the people that we love and admire the most. I mean, it's a true murderer's row of comedy actors and comedians, and to do it in service of Mel is like one of the great honors of both of our lives and everyone.
Don't speak for me. Don't speak for me.
And so that's been, and whatever we can do to continue that and to be and know that Mel has seen it and enjoyed it and gets to like experience again like what a genius he is been a really great honor.
And I can tell you this, Richard, I swear to God, I will only do season 2 if you're in. Yes or no? You got to say it right now.
Okay.
All right, there we go. You heard it here.
Let me tell you, being on the set and laughing, and it's these guys are as great as you think. They're as funny, they're as nice and kind and generous and brilliant in what they do as you think that they are. And there's a reason to love you guys.
Oh,
Thank you, Richard.
Richard Kind.
Yeah, okay, we're out of here. We're out of here. We're out of here.
Kind.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.